Hey guys, welcome back. We're switching it up today. We are not on our homestead. We're actually out at a local ghost town. We're going to show you around and we're going to talk to you about whether or not we think it's okay to homestead or off-grid over the age of 50. So stay tuned.
A prime specimen of a 52-year-old, receding hairline, drooping nose and ears, aching back, knees that are given away, and feet with ingrown nails. Yes, 52 years old.
I'll have hands.
What? Hey there, if you're new to our channel, we're two rebels off-grid. We left Colorado, we left society as fast as we could and came here to Cochise County, Arizona, where we set up a homestead called Outlaw Acres Farmstead. And we're doing stuff as old people.
You might be wondering, if you're over the age of 50, if it's feasible to homestead off-grid. Doug and I are over 50, not much over 50, but we are over 50 and we're doing it. So whether or not you can do it really depends on you. But we wanted to do this video because we just want to give you guys some stuff to think about, because you might be watching our videos because you're interested in homesteading or living off-grid, and we just want to give you some food for thought. We've been doing this now, it's coming up on, we're getting close to a year, so maybe actually not that close, but we're like 9 months in. So we want to talk to you about our experience and our thoughts on the matter.
Tiddlywink.
Can we go?
Yeah.
Right, so let's talk about off-grid and homesteading. Hey Doug, do you have to be a homesteader to live off-grid?
Not at all.
And do you have to live off-grid to be a homesteader?
Not necessarily.
So those are two different terms, right? So you can be a homesteader on the grid, fully on the grid. You can be a homesteader partially off-grid, or you can be a homesteader fully off-grid. And likewise, you can live off-grid and not homestead at all. So for us, homesteading means raising our own animals for food and raising our own vegetables and fruits as much as we can for food, and maybe even grain. So off-grid for us means we are not connected to public utilities. We have a lot of reasons for not wanting to be connected to public utilities, but mainly we don't want to rely on public utilities. We want to try to provide as much of our basic needs as we can from nature. So that's not always possible depending on where you're living. But as far as things like water, electricity, power, we are disconnected from the grid. We do not have power running to our property. We do not have water or public sewer coming to our property. So that means we are self-reliant on finding our own water, whether that means drilling a well or having water hauled in, or rainwater collecting, which is what we'll do eventually. And as far as electricity, we are in southeast Arizona here in Cochise County, where we get a ton of sunshine, even more than we got, I think, in Colorado. But we live off of solar power, and we're planning on doing that the entire time that we're living on this property.
Yep.
So I just wanted to separate those two terms out right off the bat and make sure you understood you don't have to do both.
Yeah, and age is not going, yeah.
You thought that thought through, huh?
I did.
So that's a big piece. So we've heard from lots of people, we could never do what you're doing off-grid because we can't live without running water. We can't live without a flushing toilet. We can't live with what they perceive as being off-grid. We have running water. We have cisterns that we have water in. The water runs just fine. We chose not to do a flushing toilet because there's some environmental stuff that we want to embrace, and we didn't want to put in a traditional septic system. Our property doesn't allow us to do that, so we are going with composting toilets, and we think it's going to work just fine. So just a couple things for clarification that I want to take care of right off the bat. So next we want to talk a little bit about some things that you should consider if you are over 50 and you're considering either homesteading and or going off grid. Mine now at this age.
So the question in mind here is, why are we doing this at this age? This is the age where normal people are setting up, they got their last 10 years until they can retire and live the good life, right? Well, for me, the good life is not a promise. We are not guaranteed anything in this life, right? Especially 10 years down the line from now. It's better in our minds to do what you want to do right now as best as possible and forget about that future. The future will come, God willing, and hopefully it comes in a good way. And if not, then that's fine too. I don't know, Keri and I just made the decision we want to do this type of living, and it doesn't really matter what my age is. It's a decision on what we want to do in the next 20, 30 years, and how do we want to go about making this happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we definitely, as we went through this process and made our decisions to quit our jobs, sell our house, sell everything, and move from Colorado to Arizona, one of the things that we thought about was, should we just buy the property and let it sit, and then when we're a little older, we can make the move and do this. We're like Doug said, we're not promised tomorrow, and we believe that that's very biblical. So we decided to make our decisions based on where we were at today. And of course we want to plan. Of course you need to have a plan. We're not saying you shouldn't plan and just throw caution to the wind, but we don't know where we're going to be in 10 or 15, 20 years, health-wise, financially, all those unknowns. So we made the decision to do it now because what we're doing with our building is it's labor intensive, and we want to make sure that we're still fit and healthy enough to build these structures, and we don't know if we will be in 15 or 20 years. We hopefully will be, but there's no guarantee.
You really trust this building, don't you?
It's rocks. Yeah.
So we'd like to talk about accessibility. I learned this back when I was a draftsman doing blueprints for the civil engineers. Accessibility is really something you need to think about, especially in your older years. Like a two-story house is, a lot of seniors and that won't even go upstairs anymore because it's just too hard for them to get around. And so we were thinking about that also, is we're building now, but we're building for our future selves, right? So we're looking out for ourselves. We're going to put in not too many stairs, more like ramps and And we're definitely not doing a 2-story structure. We're keeping it one level and gonna make everything quite easy for us as elderly to get about our property, to move about our property, and where our paddocks are and all that stuff will be in our zone too, which will be very easy to get to even as older adults.
Yeah, we're not going to be walking out or having to, you know, ride a horse or ATV out miles. We're kind of centering everything around a hub that will be easy to navigate, you know, physically, because you have to think about, we hope we're not in wheelchairs or need walkers in 20 years or 30 years, but we might, who knows? So if that is, you know, something that we are dealing with down the road, we want to make sure we set ourselves up right for that now.
So next, understanding your own limitations when you're getting older. Back in the day, I used to, you know, deadlift, squat, doing all that stuff, doing lots of work, and I could do it all day long. The problem was I was kind of lazy back then. I didn't really have a motivation for it like I do now. And as we get older, you're going to notice that your body's breaking down a little bit. It kind of goes left when you want to go right, and vice versa. And so I've found myself not being able to go out all day long and work like I've been working, but you're talking very extreme work for a 50-year-old, you know, with a shovel and lifting heavy things. But something you got to take into consideration, because you might be getting this epiphany to move off grid and go find your property and work the land and everything at an older age as opposed to a younger age. And there's nothing wrong with doing it as a young. Actually, I wish I was younger when I came to this epiphany and decided to move off grid, but there's one problem: I didn't have the money for it. Nor the patience, nor the wisdom, nor all that stuff I've gathered through my years to learn how to do all this stuff anyways. I wasn't there, I wasn't ready at 30, you know?
Yep.
And now that we're 50, I think it's a perfect time to go off grid. And just got to remember, you got to keep it slow, pace yourself. If you start feeling a tweak in your back, stop and don't work for the rest of the day.
Yeah, that's so true. And and knowing your own limitations means knowing when to stop, even though you might not want to. It also means understanding that that's going to change your timeline. I think we mentioned in an early video early on that we know that everything that we're going to do is probably going to take us twice as long as what we thought it would. And that, you know, age plays a factor in that. It doesn't mean we can't do it. It just means we have to take it at a slower pace and be more patient, like Doug mentioned. So,
and use that slower pace to do extra thinking. So when you're working on something, you have extra time to go, well, am I doing this the way I want it? Is this going to come out the way I want it? Or anything? So it's not wasted time either. So use your brain more than your body and you'll do less work.
Yep, exactly. We've already found lots of ways to make things easier on us physically. And it's just little shortcuts that we found that make a huge difference in the long run. So that's a really important thing to consider if you are thinking of going off grid and homesteading over 50. So I have to say, Doug and I are very fortunate. We're very healthy. We don't take medicines. We take care of ourselves. You know, we don't have any I get migraines, but it's not anything that stops me from doing stuff. So medical facilities for us are not a huge consideration right now, but they could be down the road. So again, if you're over 50, if you do have medical needs, you're going to want to consider that. So we wanted to make sure that wherever we bought our property, that we weren't like literally in the middle of nowhere. It sometimes feels like it, I think, when you watch our videos, but we're about a half hour from pretty good sized hospitals, maybe 45 minutes for a really big one, not too far from Tucson. And we had heard really good things about medical facilities that are available in Tucson. So that is something that you're going to want to consider. If you have health issues, say you are, need to have any kind of regular medical attention for anything, you just want to factor that in. It doesn't mean that you can't do this, homesteading and off-gridding. It just means you need to be a little bit more thoughtful about it and make sure that you have a plan. Make sure that you're not so far that it's going to be difficult to get to or some sort of a burden, and that you want to factor that into your decision making.
So, mindset and attitude is the biggest one of all. If you are acting old and uptight and you're hating life and everything, of course you're going to struggle out here for sure. Now, if you're like my grandfather and he died like a child in his mind, which is how I plan on going out, you know, immaturity is the best way to live, I think. But it is a mindset. If you think you're young, if you're not going to be affected by those who say you can't do it, then you might have a problem out here too. But me, I choose to ignore almost 99% of the people out there that have anything negative to say, and I'm just going to do it my way anyways. So
Exactly, I feel the same way. Doug and I also, we've never been the type of people that need people's acceptance or approval to do what we think is right. Does that mean it's right? No. But we kind of tend to pave our own way and take the path less traveled in life anyway. So I think that holds true for what we're doing now. We have a plan for aging in place, and along with mindset and attitude, just having a plan is a really good idea. So one of those things that were a factor for us was choosing to live in a community. We live in a neighborhood. It's a huge neighborhood, and everybody's got tons of property. But we have gotten to know some of our neighbors, and we know if we got into a situation, we could reach out to them. Whereas if we were just on some property out here in the middle of the county, you don't really get a chance to know people, and having that community support could be really important. And, you know, we're enjoying it now, and it could be something that we need later. So we've got some plans, you know, along with what we talked about earlier, making sure that you're setting your house up to be accessible for yourself if you have different needs is really important. So having a plan, having the right mindset, and having a good attitude. You got to have a good attitude. That's like kind of the bottom line. So we hope that this helped you get some clarity on whether or not homesteading and or off-gridding is right for you if you're over 50 or coming up on 50. Hope it was helpful, and we'll see you guys soon.
And don't forget to hit that thumbs up button at the end.
Yeah.
And if you're new to this channel, we do lots of different types of videos. So even if you didn't like this video, just stick around, subscribe, and you might see something you like.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys.
Thanks, guys. See ya.